All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tek Torrent Podcast, number 5 of the year. How is everyone doing? Let's see who is in here. We got Techman TY, got Mastermind, we got Charles Foley, we got Mr. Doom, we got Mr. Duck, and we got John Z. How is everyone doing today? Welcome to the Tek Torrent Podcast. On the podcast today, Sony is begging Bungie to not leave with a lot of money because, you know, I like money. EVGA has a new case, and this time it's actually cool. Tesla is hypermiling to the max by rolling through stop signs. And, of course, you don't mess with Gamer Jesus, especially if you lay eggs. Only on the Tek Torrent Podcast. So, first topic for today, we're going to go over why Sony is begging Bungie to not leave. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's been a lot of game acquisitions and stuff going on of game companies and such. So this is one of the latest, and Microsoft has actually purchased a big company prior to this. So this is another development that could be changing how we play games in the future, guys. Andrew, why don't you tell me what's going on?
No, I'm doing fine. How are you? Yeah.
You're doing great, right? Yeah. How you doing today, Andrew?
So I'm doing pretty well. Sony is going to be buying Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about some major deals in the past few weeks between Take-Two buying Zynga and Microsoft more recently buying Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. This is a bit of a smaller deal, $3.6 billion that Sony is going to be spending to buy out Bungie. And that's still a lot of money, but it is, really a drop in the bucket compared to Microsoft's deal. But they're not getting nearly as much as the Activision Blizzard deal. But as most of us know, Bungie was the game studio behind Halo and currently behind the Destiny franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft owned Bungie from 2000 to 2007 in the Halo days, where Halo Combat Evolved came out on the original Xbox as a launch title. Amazing game. And Microsoft retained the rights to Halo after the split. So Bungie went on to create Destiny 2, and Sony is going to work with Bungie to further develop unreleased products and intellectual property that they've been working on. Supposedly some projects in the works are due out in 2025. So relatively soon. But also some of the investment money that Sony is putting into Bungie is going to employee retention at Bungie. And that makes some sense because
employee retention.
It is what's that?
I said employee retention. I like that terminology.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a competitive market for these game studios, especially with things like Meta and mobile gaming kind of exploding in the very near past. Yeah, I mean, I think Bungie really needs to hold on to the employees that it already has, because they'll be getting better offers from other companies. And it's just a matter of if they want to take the money and run or stick where they've been. So what do you think about that? We can kind of speculate on it, but that's pretty much the information on it as far as what's been publicized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I mean, Bungie isn't the biggest game studio in the world. I think for them, it's a good amount of money, honestly. It's a pretty fair evaluation. They don't have a whole lot going on publicly that makes you say, oh, wow, they're doing amazing. So I do think they have a lot of potential, and I think Sony sees that as well. And they think with the proper funding, they can see these projects through. That might be the next big thing. I mean, Halo was a huge deal. Destiny, pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever is on the horizon for Bungie could be another big deal. And Sony, I think part of it, Sony wants the rights to it, not necessarily for an exclusive title, but just to own something significant in the gaming world. But also I think they're like, oh, everything's getting bought up. We should probably acquire some stuff while we can.
Yeah, like while it's still available and on the market before someone else buys it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. My personal opinion is that Just like with, Nintendo and all these things, back in the day when gaming was still kind of more or less niche and like for nerds only when it was cool. Now it's this big, humongous financial vehicle for a lot of things, and I don't know, whenever money gets involved, it tends to ruin things, in my opinion. It can make it better too, but kind of like the Diablo release on the Switch, Cyberpunk, all this pressure to make money and get it out fast. I hope that doesn't happen with Bungie, because Bungie makes Halo, right? Yeah, they still make Halo, make Destiny.
No, they don't make Halo.
They don't make Halo anymore, right? They made it originally.
2007.
Yeah, they made it originally, then they sold it off. Now they make Destiny. Yeah. Is that correct? Right?
Yeah, exactly. They are the studio behind the Destiny franchise originally and still. So that is a franchise they can continue developing if they see fit. And apparently they have a lot of projects that aren't public yet. So I'm sure Sony is aware of what these are, but we aren't.
Well, I think their next project, if the leak is correct, is going to be that they're going to make this super soldier, right? That's going to get on the ship and fly to this planet that's a circle, okay? Not a ring, a circle, right? And then they're going to crash land on it. I'm just saying Destiny has a lot of similarities to Halo. Like Guilty Spark is your ghost. The shields, the way the game dynamics work, a lot of the storylines is kind of similar in my opinion. So I don't think they're that different, but it is interesting to see.
Let's face it, a lot of games aren't that different.
No, not anymore. Like for example, the reticles, the targets, almost every FPS has that. If it didn't have it, it wouldn't be an FPS, right? So there's a lot of commonality between both games. And I played a lot of Destiny back in the day when it first came out, and some more recently. It's a fun game, but I find Halo Infinite to be much more enjoyable than Destiny myself.
Well, you're playing just the multiplayer, correct?
Yeah, I played a little campaign on Halo as well, because the campaign actually launches more than half the time. A multiplayer doesn't always, unfortunately. But I think with Destiny specifically and all that, I think it's a good asset, and a lot of people are into it. The fact that Sony is buying them is kind of interesting, because it used to be like kind of an Xbox exclusive, then it became like on PC, and now it's now it's just going to be the Xbox Game Pass, right? How's that going to work now with Sony buying it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's not enough to really leverage Microsoft in any sense. If they have Activision Blizzard titles that they have to share with Sony and aren't willing to, this isn't enough for Sony to leverage and say, well, if you're keeping those, we're keeping these. Like, no, it's like 2 titles probably.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think with that, I think they want the game studio to grow, but I don't think that would happen if they restrict it that much this early on. If it ends up becoming like the premier Sony game studio, then that might be a thing. But they've done really well being multi-platform once the doors kind of opened up for them after Xbox exclusive rights and all that.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think Bungie is kind of, benefiting from this deal right now more than Sony is, but Sony still needed to get a hold of, it's not like it's their first game studio purchase, but they really needed to buy the loose ends on the market right now, because if they didn't, someone else will. Exactly.
And I mean, Bungie's a very big product, relatively speaking. It's not a small game company, a well-known game company, has a lot of popularity. A lot of people like it. A lot of, Halo is what started them, essentially. They made other stuff before, but with Halo, like, it kind of, like, at least everyone in our age bracket, we all know what Halo is. We all played it when we were kids, and I think that's a very strong thing that a lot of companies don't have that are new.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they don't have the rights to Halo anymore. It would have been a much bigger purchase, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly.
But at that, if they still were the studio behind Halo, I'm sure Microsoft would still own them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. After they sold off Halo, I stopped playing Halo around Halo 3, to be honest. So I don't really know too much of what happened. I played some every now and then, but I didn't really keep up with the story. stopped watching Red versus Blue and all that stuff. So I kind of got out of it. But I would say that, overall the game franchise itself has done very well. And with Sony, what would you call it? Employee retention.
Employee retention.
Yeah, I think the fact that they're trying to do that says a lot, meaning that they recognize that there's talent there and they're willing to pay extra to keep it. Now, as for that 1.2 billion, I don't know if that's going to get disseminated amongst the employees or whatever it is, but it shows that they care for some reason. And Sony's a big game company too, so they game company, they're more like a manager of game companies, right? They just like own the brands and manage them or so. I would like to see what kind of games are going to come out on the PlayStation for sure. Be very interesting because Destiny makes games for the computer too, so how's that going to work out?
Well, I don't think that's going to change, and I don't think Sony is trying to make monopoly out of this purchase. It's not of that scale to be really questionable in that sense. Bungie did have a contract with Activision Publishing, so that expired after 8 years. So that's when Destiny became available on Steam and other game marketplaces. So I think there's a ton of value in that, and locking it down to one platform or one marketplace is counterproductive to, in this case, making money.
Yeah, for sure. Sony's been pretty, keep it tight to the chest for most of their existence, but I think it's good that they're allowing to be a little bit more open now. By the way, guys, if you guys have any questions for us or the things we're talking about, or any comments, let us know in chat. Try to at me or at Andrew over here. His chat tag is Mastermind Crypto, so make sure you add him or me if you have any questions or comments. Let's just go through.
Why don't we catch up on chat?
Yeah, let's just go through it real quick. So since our introduction, looks like Crypto Shape has showed up. How you doing, man? Integra Guy 041, Mr. _ T-Rex, PC, PBC Geek. I don't know how to pronounce that. Not quickly. Big Woolly's here. DJ Mines is here. DJ Mines. DJ Mines says Destiny 1 was great, just a money scam. Yeah, isn't that basically where all the you could buy stuff? Like a lot of stuff was in that. A lot of cosmetics and things.
What is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of microtransactions. That's the word I was looking for.
In-game purchases.
In-game purchases, yeah. All right, so Andrew, did you have anything else on the Bungie stuff with
No, we can move on from that. It's just no, we can move on from that. It was just something worth pointing out that we kind of talked about it last week when Microsoft announced their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. That Sony really needs something to respond with, and this is a smaller scale, but it's definitely worth talking about just because Microsoft can buy a huge game studio for a huge amount of money, but Sony's kind of doing it a little bit more quietly, and even if they're sneaking up on a monopoly in some areas, it's going to be a little bit more quiet. So it's kind of an advantage for Sony if they can scoop up all of the smaller companies, reinforce them, and build them into bigger ones, as a contrast to Microsoft buying an already well-developed and fully valued company.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see what it turns out to be, since there's a lot of projects that have basically been secret and it developing on the Sony platform. So that'll be pretty exciting for sure.
Yeah.
All right then. So let me just check chat real quick to see if there's any other questions. Just PB. So PB Com Geek. Okay, so I've just been adding letters and changing vowels and moving things around. PB Com Geek. Just PB works. All right. Peanut butter and jelly. All right. PB. All right. Okay, so moving on to the next topic then, guys. EVGA 1 has created a pre-built PC. It's called the EVGA E1, and this thing is crazy looking. So let me just go over some quick specs for you guys, and then I'll show you some pictures, and we'll go over like a similar parts build, things like that, to try to get the pricing, because they haven't released anything yet. So the frame for this thing is 100% carbon fiber, and it's following this 3K theme. I think 3K stands for its like design or its like density or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's made out of 3K carbon fiber, and allegedly this thing's super strong, stronger than steel, all that good stuff. And the whole frame weighs 2.76 pounds, which for those euros, a little over a kilogram, like 1.1 or 1.2 kilograms. Probably less than that, actually. It's called the E1 frame, and it's like the lightest frame, you know, compared to other chassis of the same volume. Also, it kind of comes out as like a Y. In the teaser video they released is a 3090 Ti Kingpin GPU, I think. They haven't confirmed whether it's the 3090 Ti Kingpin, but it looks different than the current Kingpin. It's got a Z690 Dark Kingpin motherboard, and they didn't say what CPU is underneath that cooler, but it appears to be the newest gen, 12th gen i9 CPU under there. And the cooler is a 7th gen Asetek closed loop cooler from EVGA. It is not a 7th gen CPU cooler, it is a modern cooler. And it's got like a display on it, as what all coolers these days, the high-end ones. And on the back, it's got a 1600 watt titanium power supply with a limited 3K carbon finish. It's probably just a sticker, honestly. Probably just your standard T2 with the sticker on it. I mean, the sticker costs like $100 more, so that's kind of cool. It also comes with these analog gauges on the front and a limited edition keychain. So let me get some pictures for you guys. Let me just do this real quick. We'll transition over to this screen. So that's what it looks like. And let's go to the video they have over here. Did I not have a video queued up? Yeah, oh, here it is. Because the video kind of shows it a little better in my opinion. Just mute that. By the way, if you guys watch this video, the intro music, like right about now, sounds kind of like reminiscent of Valve. Like the Valve logo. So you can see that's the full carbon fiber frame right there. And it's got like this crazy suspension system on this wire frame, which holds all the computer components. There's that 1600 watt titanium rated PSU. On the other side, they're going to put this EVGA Z690 Dark motherboard. We got the Kingpin card. We got the 360 AIOs for both the CPU cooler and the GPU. We got some analog gauges down here, and it zooms in. It kind of shows this new cooler. It's got a display on it. And of course, for those that don't know, the EVGA Dark Series Kingpin motherboards, they only have 2 RAM slots for overclocking. And real quick, it kind of covers where the power connectors on a traditional Kingpin goes. So it's hard to tell, but allegedly, the rumor is the 3090 Ti Kingpin is going to have 2 12-pin connectors. So that's going to be pretty interesting, but that's what it looks like. Now, let me go back to the other screen here. So let me get this up. Let me just take a look at that. All right, there we go. So now, based on what they have said, I have put together a PC part picker list of similar components of similar price. So we got the i9 12900K in here. And we got the cooler. We got the Gigabyte motherboard, which it's the Kingpin motherboard, but those things are pretty expensive. I don't really know the price on it yet. I put it as $900. The cooler is from EVGA. It's a new one, and I don't know how much it is yet either. I'm just putting that. It's not going to be like a $50 or $100 cooler, that's for sure. The memory, we just added DDR, 64 gigs of DDR5. That comes in around $600 average market price. These are all kind of retail prices, by the way. We got the regular 3090 24 gigabyte Kingpin in here, but we're estimating that to be around $2,500 retail. And I just put in a regular case.
For the TI.
For the TI, yes. Sorry, for the TI. For the case, the carbon fiber case, we're just throwing some random number in here. We think it's gonna be really expensive. We just put $11.99. And then of course the power supply, those are like $500 or so. So just for the parts of the system alone, by estimate, we're looking around $6,000+. So this thing is not going to be cheap. This thing is going to be very, very expensive. Now, I don't know. It looks really cool. I'm not a big fan of the design too much, but it is cool looking. and it's definitely a nice open air chassis. As you guys know, I love my open air chassis. So let me just transition back here, get my notes. Let's see. Yeah, so it's got those analog gauges on the front, and if you look underneath that, it's got like all the I/O. So we think that's where on a traditional computer all the I/O would go: input, output, USB-C, power on, off, all that good stuff, hard drive LEDs, all that good stuff. And the last thing, it comes with a limited edition keychain. It doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't look like a remote. It just looks like a key fob for your car. I don't know, man. It's very expensive and all that. EVGA's older cases kind of look really ugly and bad, and they're actually on B stock like all the time. I don't think they've ever left. So I don't know how bad or good it is, and we won't know until it comes out. But I'm thinking, well, at least Andrew here has told me his estimate on the price is gonna be around 10 grand for the computer.
I don't think I'm gonna be far off. I mean, it's a whole lot of hardware. It's going to be basically as good as it gets in terms of actual hardware. And I think having it all in one pre-built computer, you're going to pay the pre-built tax, which in this case will be, whatever EVGA deems appropriate. But that case is not going to be something you see mass produced, and therefore whatever research and development went into it needs to be made up for in however much the quantity they sell is. So even just considering the design, even if it were mass produced, it's a premium chassis, so there is cost in that, in materials and production. But being that it will be limited quantity, it will be more. So yeah, I would be shocked if that case was valued at anything under $700, $800.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely gonna be very expensive because they got to make money too, right? I mean, especially in this market where we're gonna talk about this later, but companies can essentially, we're gonna come begging and pleading to buy stuff, so they could basically charge whatever they want. Real quick before we continue on with the EVGA E1 case, I guess we missed the question regarding Mr. T-Rex says, what do you think GTA 6 would look like and take place? So I don't really keep up too much with it, but in my little bit of research on that, it appears that they are actively working on a new GTA game. Now, as to what it will look like, whatever, I think they're still gonna keep with the standard graphics that they've had. Not very realistic, just kind of in the past, in my opinion. But it's it's the cartoonish graphics, right, that are really high resolution, really high detail, but still cartoonish. It doesn't really look real. As for where it's going to be, what part of the world, I don't know. They already done a lot of places in California. Maybe it could be out of this country, we don't know. As for the question, let me read the question again. Yeah, how it will look and where it takes place.
They might be asking where it is. So yeah, I mean, honestly, that I don't think anybody has any real information on it anyway, but I think it will look pretty good. It's been a while since Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, but also we've developed a lot of technology in terms of game engines and development that will allow games to look better, but also graphics hardware, whether or not you can get GPUs, graphics hardware has matured and is much more powerful than it used to be. So, and not to mention the game consoles are much more powerful than they used to be. So
Andrew,
I think we could see a really
take care of something behind me. I'll be right back. Just keep going.
Yeah. I think we will see a really great looking game. I mean, Grand Theft Auto has pretty much, in some ways, it's led the gaming community in terms of open world games. And honestly, I always thought about Grand Theft Auto 3 or Grand Theft Auto Vice City that the physics and the vehicle modeling was pretty much on par with racing games of the time. And at this point, we're limited to, there aren't that many racing games out there now that there are plenty of racing games out there now that don't rely on necessarily realistic physics or models. So I think Grand Theft Auto in general is at least the quality of those type of games, not necessarily simulation, but I'm not saying the Grand Theft Auto physics are super realistic, but they're predictable. You can pick up the controller and you can do everything you want to do, and it doesn't seem cartoonish like some games do. But I'm more interested in environments. I think graphics for the environment will be, I would imagine it will be cutting edge.
Yeah, I mean,
taking advantage of
like physics
new technologies
too, right?
for. Yeah, I think in terms of, I don't know when the game's going to come out, but I think it will. They're really going to try and push hardware so that, it's sort of like Grand Theft Auto in the past looks a certain way regardless of your hardware. It doesn't look that much better if you're running like some super crazy GPU, but unless you're using like mods and stuff like that, obviously. But I think it will try to really leverage the hardware we have today. And I would think sort of a trend in the past is that they'll try and push the environments, the world, the in-game world, to be even bigger than it has been in the past. And they've been huge before, but I think they'll probably try and push that even further.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played GTA in a long time, so I'm not the best one here, but from what I've seen to the very first GTA to what it is now, it's exploded into a whole like community and stuff. It's not just a game where you go out beating up people anymore. It's literally got like missions and communities, and it's like a MMORPG essentially. It's definitely gotten way more bigger than I thought.
Yeah, and online play is taking it to a new level.
Yeah, I mean, it's no longer a game where it's just you and the game. Now there's other people, you go do missions together, you can play with other people. The internet has really changed a lot of these type of games. Okay, so Mr. T-Rex, I hope that answered your question. We didn't mean to skip it. It just might have been in the transition where I wasn't looking. All right, so I'm going to finish up with the E1 case. I'm going to move on to our next topic. So yeah, guys, let me know in chat if you guys have any questions about the E1 case or what you think. Just looking at chat regarding it. Let's see here. We got some... Mr. Doom says, expensive and ugly. PB says, it looks crazy. Techman TY says, 10K? I'm making the PVC pipe frame instead. So me and Andrew actually, when we were researching it, I was like, hey, what if I take PVC pipe and just make one and like wrap it in carbon fiber? Like that would be a really fun video. And just be like, hey, look, ours, this costs $10,000. Ours costs like $40, including all the pipe and materials or whatever it may be, I thought that'd be a really fun video idea. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this after the fact or if you're on live stream, what you guys would think of something like that. Doom Miner, you say that it'll take place in Idaho and your character will be underground potato dealer. That's in reference to Grand Theft Auto. That's really funny. MC, thanks for coming by, and thank you for also being a loyal follower. You've been a follower for a long time. He has the purple fish badge. That means he's been, I think, a follower from over 90 days or 6 months. I got to double check. It's one or the other. CryptoShape is also a loyal follower. Thank you for being by, CryptoShape. And Taines, hey Taines, how you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. All right. So Andrew, did you have anything else on the E1 case from EVGA that's going to be a lot of money?
I mean, I had talked to you about it earlier, but honestly, I don't think it's a case that I don't think it's a system that they're really trying to sell. I think it's like having, the latest Corvette in the showroom so that they can sell, Cavaliers. You know what I mean? Gets people in the door.
It attracts people, right?
Yeah, I think it's really brand attraction. They're just trying to get people talking about EVGA with this crazy system. And it's not to say it's not an amazing system. It's going to be fully loaded with the latest hardware. But in terms of who needs a system like that,
I
that
do,
should
obviously.
pay the premium and get it. Yeah, I mean, it's someone who's probably compensating for something
Whoa,
else.
whoa! I don't know
I'm
where I
sorry you
don't.
cut me off there. I didn't, we overlapped there. I wasn't responding to what you said. Um, did you say someone who might want one? I'm sorry.
Someone else that might want one.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a friend who might want one.
A friend of a
Okay.
friend that I don't know anymore.
All right. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I don't know. I mean, we're speculating in terms of cost, but it's not going to be cheap. For the Kingpin GPUs and the Dark series motherboards are already items that most people don't need and probably aren't a great value.
Need? I mean, that's such a relative term.
Yeah, I'm just saying, the features that are part of that hardware are rarely utilized. So unless you're actually doing extreme overclocking and LN2 stuff, yeah, you probably just don't need it. But that PC is clearly not set up for LN2. It's really just a showpiece.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the one last thing about it is the reason why I would probably never buy that, because it's expensive, is unless I'm building a separate system that's just going to be like for throwing the fastest clocks or whatever, it only has 2 RAM slots. So I can't fit 128 gigs on this thing. I can only put up to 64 in the current market. That's a big problem for me because I'm a content creator, and some of the stuff I do in Premiere Pro takes a lot of RAM. I mean, like just the other day, Oh, go ahead.
We're in the genesis of DDR5 though, so I would imagine with this generation of memory, we're going to see 64 gig sticks become more common.
Yeah, it's not really common in the desktop space, more like the server space right now.
Yeah, I mean, DDR4 has been out for something like, I don't know,
10
5
years?
to 10 years somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we expect DDR5 to have as long of a run, it's definitely going to have higher capacity DIMMs by the time it's still relevant.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that those motherboards the BIOSes aren't programmed to have more than 128 gigabytes at the moment. So it'll be interesting if we get 256 gigabyte motherboards, because then I honestly will have almost very little reason to ever switch to a Threadripper platform or something, especially if I could get that much RAM. I mean, I don't use it very often, but when I do, it really does help for those long renders in Premiere or warp stabilizers. It really does help. Let me just read the chat real quick about any questions, and then we're going to move on to our next subject, guys. Let's see. Bullsgard? Am I saying that right? Let me know if I'm saying it wrong. Bullsgard says, it's something different though. Wouldn't want it myself, to be honest. The components, however. Yes, I agree. I definitely am eyeballing that 3090 Ti Kingpin. It looks like a shark. I don't really like it that much, but it is the new hotness, and I have to have one, obviously. Let's see. Bullsgard, what are you editing? 8K? Yes, actually. All of our videos, other than our live streams, are uploaded and rendered and uploaded in 8K 60 FPS. Is it necessary? No, but it kind of gives a little more longevity that, 10 years from now when people are watching where 8K is like 480, we don't want to be below that. So yeah, all of our videos are uploaded in very high resolution, very high frame rate. I think they're talking about the carbon fiber UJ thing. Yes. Carbon fiber thing. We were kind of mixing both subjects. All right, I don't see any other questions. Andrew, you don't have anything else on the E1 case, right?
No.
Okay, so moving on to our next subject. You guys know about Tesla. They've been a company of controversy, whatever you may think. It appears that they have been trying to hypermile to the max. Let's talk about that, Andrew. Why don't you tell me about what Tesla's been doing, or rather, what problems they've been having?
Yeah, we might, maybe we'll skip this one if Taines is still in here. Taines, you still in here? No, all right, I guess we'll go on. All right, yeah, so Tesla is recalling 53,000 vehicles, actually over 53,000, it's almost 54,000, because of a software quote-unquote feature, allowing it to roll through stop signs at up to 5.6 miles per hour. This is a part of the full self-driving beta program, which basically just is earlier access to software pushes over the air that enable new features and transfer data to Tesla, basically to provide them with information to improve their self-driving feature. So this raised some debate about whether or not this was a fault or a feature. And Elon Musk tweeted that this is not a safety issue. The car was simply slowing down to 2 miles per hour and continued forward if clear view with no cars or pedestrians. So basically, in order for this feature to function in the first place, there are some prerequisites. The functionality must be enabled within the full self-driving beta settings. So it's a toggle. The rolling stop is a toggle feature on or off. So it had to have been enabled. Assertive driving style has to be selected. So with the self-driving, there are a few different driving styles, and assertive is one of them, and that's the only one. That
assertive, I like that.
Yeah, assertive. Yeah, you can kind of figure out what that means. Not aggressive, it's assertive.
Assertive. Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah, and the vehicle must already be traveling below 5.6 miles per hour for this feature to kick in. And no relevant moving vehicles, pedestrians, or cyclists are detected near the intersection. And all roads entering the intersection have a speed limit of 30 miles per hour or below. So those are the qualifications for this feature to actually function.
Okay.
But Tesla is recalling vehicles and pushing out a firmware update in early February that will, I guess, remove the feature entirely. But yeah, I mean, it basically argues the point: are our rules of the road as we know them becoming obsolete? And should a self-driving vehicle be allowed to break said rules based on calculations of the risk factors? And should a self-driving beta be something accessible to everyday motorists? So obviously,
especially if it's a beta.
Yeah, I mean, they call it a beta, and that's what it is. So a few different talking points here, but first things first, rolling through a stop sign. I don't think there's any state that says you can roll through a stop sign in terms of like the legal terms. I think that's breaking the law in any state. If it's a stop sign, you have to stop. It's not a
full and complete stop. End quote.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, well, the first thing is, should that apply to vehicles that have computers determining that it's completely safe to go through it? You know, should the rules of the road be revised at this point to be accommodating of where technology is going?
Oh wow, that's a deep topic.
Yeah, maybe we won't spend so much time on it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll spend some time. So, I mean, did you have anything else on that before we go on to that question?
No, that's pretty much it. So they're recalling the vehicles officially, but it's most likely you don't have to. I don't think you have to take your vehicle in. They're just going to push out a over-the-air update to remove the feature. Yeah.
So before we answer the question at the end of your thing there, let me just look at chat real quick. Oh, thank you. It's red bullseye guard. Okay, I'll try to remember that, my friend. Bullseye guard. Bullseye guard says the Tesla rolling stop feature. I think he's referring to. He says it's a feature. That feature is called being a human, I guess. That's great. Oh my God, Tesla's greatest enemy is here. Taines is in chat. John Z says self-driving fun. Roar. Jetsons, anyone? Yeah. I guess maybe then I could fold up my car and put it in my shirt pocket. All right. So are our rules as we know it becoming obsolete? Should a self-driving vehicle be allowed to break said rules based on calculating risk factors? Should a self-driving beta be something accessible to everyday motorists? Oh man, dude, we're gonna get into like some like we go into some theology and some like ethics and
yeah, there's a lot to it.
I think the self-driving aspect is gonna be the future. I think, unpopular opinion, whatever you want to call it, kind of like how, you know, society changes and updates. I like driving my own car, but there's times where I'd rather just get in and not pay attention, especially like long trips. So I think self-driving is a luxury feature for now, but I think it's kind of like cruise control is going to become more standardized as we go into the future. I don't think it's going to go away. Even if we continue to have accidents or other issues, I don't think any place or any nation is going to outright ban it because of the... I mean, think about it. So let me give you an example. Everyone knows an elevator today. In the very beginning, the elevators had a dude inside, or usually a man, sometimes it was a woman, that would operate it manually. So he can potentially turn the elevator on while the doors aren't all the way closed and someone is halfway through and chop him in half. There were no safety features, right? So what they did was completely remove all human control. All you could do was ask the elevator to do something. And that made people a lot safer and arguably made the elevator a lot safer. So the same idea with self-driving cars, you remove the human completely out of the equation and then it's safer, so to speak. Now, of course, we all know the instances where the car crashes under the truck because it thought it was the sky, because a large flat object, all that stuff. I don't take this the wrong way, guys. I think that is problems we're going to continue to have till we perfect the technology. And it's a risk we all take if we choose to use this technology. Now, with that said, let me give you a statistic here that everyone leaves out. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was in a story somewhere. Basically, the amount of miles driven on autopilot versus the amount of miles driven as a human, the accident ratio was better for the autopilot. Now, yes, it may all have been highway driving, which is less likely, but the statistics don't lie when it comes to those numbers. So there is that. Now, as if we should have new rules for self-driving cars, I don't know how to answer that. One thing in Europe that they're trying to pass is that when a self-driving car is in autonomous mode, there's a light that turns on the back to alert other drivers to let them know that the driver is not in control of this vehicle. The computer's driving it. That is something that could be possibly great, but as we all know, in America, we got to consider trolls. So that might just become a, hey, come troll me, the computer's driving. So, should we change the rules? I think so eventually, after it gets more adopted. Because honestly, these rules that we have don't really apply. I mean, theoretically, the cars could just never stop. Right? If they time everything perfectly, they won't ever hit each other going through intersections. So why, we could hypermile to the max and essentially never stop your car from work to home. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the statistics do show that self-driving vehicles are in fewer accidents than the normal average already. But I think if it were all self-driving vehicles on the road, then it would be even less than that. So I think widespread adoption is sort of where it's going to come into its own. And we'll see that it become, when it's like more than 50% of vehicles have this feature, then maybe we'll start to see the rules of the road changing. Until then, I think you still need to have rules that apply to everyone. So you can't have vehicles that can run the stop sign and then other ones that can't. That would create dangers on its own, just for not losing that predictability. Oh, that car, there's a stop sign up there. I expect that car to stop. And then if it doesn't, that's its own thing.
Yeah.
So I think once we see more adoption of autonomous vehicles, we will see rules of the road changing. Whether or not that's widespread or, we'll have special lanes on the highway for autonomous vehicles so that they can operate independently and alongside each other rather than with, human drivers mixed in. I think that would be a safer strategy than just changing the rules of the road to accommodate the more computerized vehicles. But I think highways, first of all, the place to start with that. It's typically more predictable scenarios, less extreme inputs in terms of what you need to do. You're just going down the road more or less. So
you're essentially driving straight.
Yeah. All you have to do is keep your lane and occasionally switch lanes. But if you dedicate a lane to autonomous vehicles, then you shouldn't need to be switching lanes. It would be sort of like a train with no track. So yeah, in terms of the rules of the road changing, I don't think that's what we're going to see, but I do think that this is a sign that they will be changing at some point, because there are benefits to a vehicle not stopping at a stop sign and rolling through it cautiously, effectively making it a yield. But instead of a driver having to look in all directions to see if there's any hazards, a computer is able to do that quicker, more effectively. It has more angles, it has more lines of sight essentially in every direction at once than a human ever could. So I would trust a computer to say an intersection is safe more so than I would myself. And these are specific cases, but yeah, I think with that aside, safety is probably the biggest factor. That's why we have stop signs in the first place. But if we say that it is safe, then the next thing is that it's more fuel efficient, or it uses less energy to roll through than it does to come to a complete stop and then accelerate again. Mm-hmm. So there are multiple benefits to changing these rules to accommodate autonomous vehicles when they're capable. So that raises the next question. Should a self-driving beta be something accessible to everyday motorists? So I think there's two sides of this for sure. Either, it's a beta program, so that's scary to think that this self-driving technology is in beta and potentially in the car in front of you, next to you, behind you, doing its own thing without the driver having his hands on the wheel. But I also think, it is where it is in the program already. They're rolling out smaller feature sets. They've already developed the self-driving function pretty much. It's in use. So I think there needs to be in-house testing before anything else, and there is, obviously, and whether that's computerized simulations or smaller scale physical tests. But I don't think of widespread quote-unquote beta testing as such a bad thing, because I think the largest sample of data is going to make the most just the best self-driving system available.
Yeah.
So you can't do that with small data sets. You need to be able to see scenarios that are not predictable or that someone didn't program. It needs to be an anomaly so that it can go back to the manufacturer, in this case Tesla, to say, well, this happened. The computer flagged it and disabled self-driving because of it. It didn't know what to do with it, so it handed control back over to the driver. And then they can work on that kind of scenario that might be 1 in a million, but that the next rollout of firmware will account for. If you're not doing widespread beta testing, you're not going to see those kind of things.
Exactly. So I see both sides of the coin as well, is that if you don't do the beta testing, then you don't have good data, no real world data, and you can't really make it better. If you do beta testing, people could get hurt. So I don't believe it's worth human lives, but I do believe it's worth the overall picture in the future where we could potentially be saving more human lives. That makes any sense. However, with that said, I don't know, because I don't actually have a Tesla. But I think there's like a really big disclaimer you got to sign or a confirm or something when you activate it or when you buy the car. Basically be like, hey, this isn't perfect yet. You're taking your own life in your own hands. Always keep your hands close to the wheel. In fact, I believe you got to apply upward pressure onto the wheel like every 60 seconds or something to keep the car in autonomous mode.
I don't think that's true. I think the full self-driving beta doesn't have that requirement. It's more of a full self-driving. Like on the highway.
Yeah. The full self-driving probably has something else to make sure you're paying attention. You can't really touch the wheel while it's moving around the city, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it does everything. So
Yeah. Yeah, the highway, the one that you use on the highway, that you have to put upward pressure onto the wheel as it's moving. Otherwise, it'll go give you a warning, and if you go too long, it'll disable it for that entire session, which is not what you want, especially if you're going a long distance.
yeah.
I personally think the fact that the beta is available to the public is not necessarily a bad thing. I think this is more of kind of the, like when vehicles became machine powered, they had to put a horse head on the front of the vehicle because it kept freaking people out, right? This machine moving all by itself without a horse in front of it. So they actually had to put a fake horse head on this machine, so people wouldn't be like, what is that? Like, wow, that's weird. Kind of similar to that. I think we're just in that transitional phase where a lot of people are still not comfortable with it, especially people that, you know, may like not have as much contact with the technology, or, you know, haven't really used it in their lives. Like, for example, okay, there's this one guy at my job that is like, oh, you know, muscle cars, this, oh, I'll never drive electric. Then he got into a car with his friend. Next thing you know, he's a convert. He's like, oh man, that Tesla has a lot of torque. He's never felt that before. And, you know, I think if we give everyone a Tesla for a day, they would change their mind, you know. But I think the full self-driving thing, I think it's good. The fact that it's a beta, I think as long as there's adequate disclosure to the point where people actually understand what can happen, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for technology,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I'm a car enthusiast as well. I really like cars. I like seeing cars get pushed to the limit, and EVs are taking torque to the next level. And I think it's just the natural progression that we're going to see more EVs, better EVs, and you know, that's not to say gas cars are bad, because you know, you get things, they're different experiences, and I think, you know, muscle car guys will never, an EV is never going to be a replacement for a muscle car, but it's its own entity, and it's good in its own
They do have
right.
electrified muscle cars too, by the way.
No, I know, but I mean, the sound, the smell, the feeling, everything about a muscle car is, you know, it's a complete package. So, you know, part of the thing with the EVs is, you know, let's just say a Tesla Model S Plaid Edition. You know, super
okay.
fast,
Only
tons
a
of torque.
$120,000 car, yeah. Okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, for instance, like in this car that's super fast,
Yeah.
you know, it's weird that doesn't really make any sound. So it doesn't really vibrate when you're idling at a stoplight. So, you know, it's a completely different experience than the equivalent amount of, you know, what you would feel from your senses, what you would get from your senses in an equivalent muscle car.
Yeah.
So there's still different experiences for different cases. But in terms of just mainstream cars, I think EVs, you know, it's the way things are going, but
it's going to be a while before we fully transition, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's changing new cars for sure, but it doesn't change old cars. You know, the cars that exist are still what makes a car. What the history of the car is based on everything in the last 100 years. So I don't know. I can see progress as a good thing while still enjoying the cars of yesteryear, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've seen this in the industries I work in, because most industries I work in have had, you know, people more advanced in years and, you know, old school, whatever you want to call it. I think this is more of a cultural thing, and that as the new generations grow up with, you know, exposure to new technologies and such, it'll become more normalized to where, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not going to go away like gasoline cars, right? I'd say it's going to be at least 100 years, maybe, before.
I don't think it'll be that long.
Like, I'm just saying, before, like, okay, let me give you an example. Like a Model T, right? We don't have any, we have very few people today saying, man, the Model T was the best car ever. You know, every car today is just, you know, you don't even feel the road. That was a real man's car. We don't have anyone saying that, because we grew up in a different era. We grew up with new technologies. Huh?
You haven't read the chat, have you?
No, why?
No. We'll get to the chat in a minute.
Yeah. I was gonna say we'll look at that at the end of the session. But like, no one goes like, oh man, Model Ts were so great. You know, all you people driving those cars today, they suck. Model Ts were, you know, we don't have anyone, essentially, like nobody really says that. And I think that's
just to be clear.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, finish your point.
I was gonna say just I think it's progress in the sense that we're going forward with newer technologies, newer culture, newer society, and it's not necessarily that something is bad, but rather it's changing. If that makes any sense. Like, I think it's gonna be a while before we have too much infrastructure, too much like stuff invested into gasoline powered cars to make them ever go away for like a while. 50 to 100 years, my opinion. And that's all I gotta say about that. Forrest Gump says.
Just to be clear, we're talking about Tesla. We're talking about EVs, and we're talking about autonomous driving. But gasoline-powered vehicles and autonomous driving are not mutually exclusive. So I think we're going to see widespread autonomous driving vehicles well before gasoline engines and are not in production vehicles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to think in my head, but because, you know, autonomous driving is not that common yet, but I know like some Mercedes have like collision avoidance and stuff and lane keep that's not autonomous, but it's essentially the same thing, just like a autonomous light.
Features like that, Toyota Safety Sense, stuff like that has been around for at least 10 years, where collision detection, where they'll pre-tension seatbelts when they anticipate a crash. They'll automatically do panic braking, even just radar cruise control, lane keep assist, stuff like that, driver awareness aids. Stuff like that has been in vehicles for, you know, a dozen years at least, 10 to 15 years. So that's kind of like level 1 autonomy, but it's just a matter of, you know, more time, more development, and becoming more mainstream. So like any new technology, it's going to be exclusive, like Lexus, Mercedes, Tesla, for the Cadillac, you know, for these crazy features, because they cost money.
Exactly.
You can't put it on an $18,000 car when the technology itself costs half of that.
Yeah, they wouldn't have much room for profit if that was the case. They'd be giving the things away.
But I think that pretty much sums it up. Why don't we see what's going on in the chat?
Yeah, oh wow, you guys are really talking, huh? Oh man, I guess we must have hit a spike here. All right, let's see here. Let's go back to oh, hey Taines, I see you've been talking quite a bit. All right, let me just read what's going on and try to summarize. So while he's doing that, let us know, guys, what you guys think about this, because, you know, we're reading up chat right now. Okay, so there seems to be like a little bit of miscommunication. So we're not making like a statement here. We're just talking about issues that the technology is having, right? We're not like saying go throw away your electric cars, guys. We're not trying to do any of that. Well, we can do that in another podcast, but those type of topics tend to go really long. So, but yeah, the everything you guys are saying are valid concerns. Batteries, fairness, feasibility, environmental friendliness. Yes, those are very valid concerns, and in fact, those are probably one of the more important concerns. What we're focusing on is like the news on like what happened with the cars, with like the autonomous features and such, about rolling through stop signs and things, you know, like beta testing issues, right? So we're not really talking about as to the like ethics or environmentally friendly or like any political stuff. We're not really touching that. We're more talking about the aspect of the technology itself, because this is a technology podcast. So that's what we're really going at, guys. But yeah, everything you guys are saying are definitely valid concerns. Don't take it the wrong way. We're just not really going to be touching on stuff like that in this podcast, because we only have like maybe 10 or 15 more minutes left before we run out of time tonight anyway.
We spent a lot of time on this topic already.
Yeah. So let's summarize it and move on to the last topic, because the last one I think is one of the big topics for this week.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the chat real quick.
By the way, the fake sounds thing, gasoline cars have that too. My Focus ST had a tube that connected the intake manifold to the cabin to make it sound like it was more powerful. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah, BMWs have been doing the whole the whole different engine sounds for a while, actually, not just the i8, but like the gasoline powered ones. They've made it so that it's like a completely different sound through the speakers, so that you think your car doesn't sound like it does.
Yeah, I mean, what car was it? So some cars actually, this is kind of getting off topic. Well, I'm not going to go off topic too much, but some cars even have noise canceling features that cancel out road noise inside the cabin. And if you ever ridden one of those cars,
pretty common.
Yeah, it's really nice. I like it.
Yeah, I had an 05 Honda that had that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had the noise canceling Bose. It was part of the Bose stereo.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all different types of things. Like, I think a lot of the luxury vehicles do that now pretty much as standard, because they put so much money into actually making the car quiet that they might as well just go that extra step.
Yeah, I mean, there really is a difference.
Yeah, I think based on how much reception we're getting in the chat right now, maybe we'll do a little bit more talking about cars. But for now, we're going to wrap that topic up and move on to the final topic.
Yeah, for sure. So, as I said in the intro, the final topic for tonight, Gamers Nexus gets ripped off by Newegg for $500. All right, so for those of you that don't know, let me catch you up. Here's what happened in a nutshell. Steve purchased a motherboard from Newegg for $500. It did say it was a open box motherboard. Now, open box means that Newegg has received it back and they recertified, they tested it that it works. They shipped it out. Steve got it. By the time he got it, they've already figured out the issue they were having with X, Y, and Z. They never even opened the box. They just put 2 pieces of tape on it and shipped it back to Newegg. For an RMA, of course. He did the whole process, right? A few weeks later, he gets an email from Newegg saying that his RMA has been rejected because of bent pins. Bent CPU pins. Now, here's the really, really hard part about this. It's very, very difficult to prove that you didn't bend the pins. Not saying that you did or didn't, but rather it's hard to prove it. Here's why. A lot of things can happen in transit. That's why a lot of times that CPU socket cover thing that pops off when you put the CPU on, there's a lot of things where if you RMA a motherboard, if that doesn't have that on there, they auto reject you because the pins are so sensitive, right? In this case, Steve didn't even open the box. He just sent back what they sent him. So the fact that it had bent pins, well, kind of sus. So before Steve made a, noise about it, what happened was they were like, yeah, we're rejecting your RMA, so you're not getting your money back, and we'll ship you your board, but they never shipped it, at the time at least. And it's been a little bit. He never got the board back at that time. So, of course, Steve tried calling them, going through the standard process. They didn't know exactly who he was at the time, so he called them, let them know. Then he went on Twitter and said, look, this is bullcrap, this is what happened. And all of a sudden, Newegg changed their tune and approved his RMA, gave him his money back, and, all that good stuff happened. Now, this is very concerning because, as content creators we are, even though we're small content creators, we're very, very conscious of that fact. In fact, there's some content I'm working on right now where that's an integral piece of it. If that's not there, it's not a review, guys. If I'm being paid for it or someone gets to preview something before I release it to where you guys see it, it's not a real review. It's doctored, right? It's been made to say a certain message. Anyways, so Steve's also very conscious of that too. So he basically said, wow, so because they found out who I was and I have this many followers, I'll make a stink. You guys actually approved it. Kind of sus. So kind of go into that. If you guys also know, Newegg has been having a deal with Gigabyte where their Gigabyte had these power supplies that were exploding, right? Actually exploding, causing issues. So instead of doing the right thing and recalling them all, they just dumped them all in Newegg and, made a deal with them to where they sell them with GPUs because, yeah, we got GPUs and no one else does. So you're going to buy it from us and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So that's what they've been doing. And these type of practices from Newegg, it's really bad, guys. It's really bad. And I know I'm kind of long going here, but the thing is this, all right? Newegg has able to make this power dynamic with the consumer because of the current market, because of the fact they have things that we want, right? And because of that, it appears that they're trying to cut the customer service or make money by saying people bend pins and stuff, because that's a really hard case to prove. Your only options at that point are to, contact them and complain, be like, look how much money I spent, all that, or do a chargeback on the credit card, which doesn't always work out, by the way. I've actually done a chargeback, which I've lost, and I had to pay that money. Otherwise, the credit card company was going to ding my credit score, right? So it's very concerning, especially like, come on, guys, what? If they just did a little bit of research to see where the address it was being shipped to, they would have known it was going to Gamers Nexus. And, like, I'm not trying to say they should do this to anyone else, but like, come on, how stupid can you be, right? And the fact that they just did this to Steve, it's very concerning. And this type of stuff really gets me upset because it shouldn't matter who you are. Everyone should be treated equally when it comes to, your stuff. Especially like, if I sell you this green pen and you get it in the mail and I ship you a purple pen, well, I screwed up. I should be shipping you the right pen, right? That's the way it should be, not this where you just try to make extra money off people by essentially scamming them by saying they did something that they didn't. And if Steve did do, if the pins were in fact bent, that means Newegg didn't check the box. They didn't check to see that it was open, recertified, or whatever, right? So that's the story of what happened, and that's where they're at right now. As far as we know, Steve got his money back and all that good stuff. Everything's honky-dory. But of course, Newegg suffered some losses due to that. And also, not to say anything, but it appears that they hired some very attractive people to post videos for them, make videos for them, which, I don't know if the company is trying to pull something weird, but it's definitely kind of sus. Just the way that Newegg has been going. Andrew, so what do you think about all that?
Right. Honestly, there's a lot going on with this story, but
yep.
Part of it is when a company decides that they'll take returns and sell open box products. Any company that sells open box, recertified, refurbished, whatever you want to call it. In this case, it's open box because it's just basically returned. Whoever receives it is supposed to look at it and say, okay, yep, that's a motherboard. Okay, it's good for resale, which means, they probably post-test it. And that's not to say you can't post-test a motherboard that has bent pins,
yeah, it can still work.
Yeah, it can totally still work with bent pins, depending on the severity. Bent pins are probably more common than you think when it comes to slightly bent pins. Sometimes just dropping a CPU in a little too quickly can do that, or not completely straight in can do that, but the pins will still line up with the pads on the CPU. So that can happen. So that can happen. That can happen to the person who receives it at Newegg and retests it. It might have been the original owner in this case, or it might have been Newegg bending the pins. But with that aside, it's just when a company like Newegg, a retailer, decides that they're going to be in the open box business, instead of writing off the loss of the product and disposing of it, that they're going to try and resell it, they also need to have a returns department that's a little bit more accommodating, specifically on open box products, because the chances of something being wrong, not at the fault of the second buyer, is higher. So, if I get an open box product and say, oh yeah, no, it doesn't work, and they say, well, then you did it, well, that's less likely to be true than if I'm the first buyer, if it's something that isn't a manufacturing defect. So you see this a lot with Amazon, where they have those Amazon warehouse deals, right? It's an Amazon return that they repackage and say, okay, yeah, that's good to go. We can resell that. If you buy something from Amazon that's from the warehouse, there definitely is a higher chance you get something that's broken, messed up, missing pieces, whatever. But Amazon understands that, and if you say, oh yeah, blah blah blah, it's not as it's supposed to be, they're going to say, okay, free shipping back to us and you get a refund. In this case, Newegg doesn't give that same it just
service.
basically is, it doesn't give the same service. It doesn't understand that that's a real possibility, and it ends up blaming the customer, which is not good business, especially in this case where it clearly wasn't the fault of the customer, and that the customer was, more or less a YouTube tech celebrity. But it sheds light into what their real policies are within the returns department and Newegg in general. So I have returned things to Newegg, and I haven't had this specific issue, but I have had instances where weeks go by after they've received it before I get a refund.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly reaching out to them to see what's going on. And they're just saying, oh, yeah, that's being processed right now, expected in 48 hours. And then I wait a week and contact them again, and it's the same story.
Exactly.
So I don't think they have the best returns department. And maybe that's, maybe it's short-staffed, maybe it's incompetent people working there. But regardless, it's on Newegg to get that fixed. And, unfortunately, it's probably still going to go on, I think. But, they might put some Band-Aids on it for now. But I think it's sort of Newegg looking at margins and saying, well, it's better for us if we just kind of screw the customer. So we'll keep doing that. While a company like Amazon, politics aside, they are much more customer focused in giving you a service that you like so that you keep giving them money.
Repeat
Newegg,
customers.
Yeah, Newegg I don't think has realized that they're replaceable.
Oh. Can I get that as a recording?
I mean, most things that Newegg has
are
available on Amazon. Amazon usually has as good or better pricing. Amazon usually has as good or better shipping rates and speeds. And if I can't get it at Newegg, I can probably get it at Micro Center, or that's probably it for. Most people probably don't have an alternative if Amazon doesn't have it. But there are different alternatives for online retailers. I'm just saying Newegg is definitely not my first choice. And it probably shouldn't be yours after this.
I only go there when they have deals, honestly. That's where I got my 5950Xs for $600.
Yeah, I've gotten deals from them, and it's like, it's almost not worth it.
No, I don't think it is.
So, yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say that, kind of touching what you were talking about is that, exactly, politics aside, I think Amazon just is a better deal sometimes, and they got Prime. Newegg doesn't. You gotta pay something to get that. I don't remember. But like every time I bought something from Newegg, it wasn't my first choice. It was like my second or third for sure.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else on that, Andrew? Because I'm just gonna hit up chat. There's some things that came in.
Yeah, just one thing. So I bought an open box processor from Micro Center once. It was a Ryzen 3700, I think, 3700X. And it was open box, good deal, obviously, because they already have the cheapest CPUs. And then open box made it like 40 or 50 bucks cheaper. I got it home and it had like 5 bent pins, and I was like, damn.
An Intel CPU. Oh, that sucks.
No, AMD Ryzen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it had bent pins, and I took it back, and I was pissed off. So, I expected them to have checked that. So when I get up to the returns counter and the manager comes over, I'm like, this is, ridiculous and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, yeah, no
liar.
problem. We're just going to go.
You did that. Get the F out of here.
Yeah. Exactly. They refused to refund my money,
name is New
and they took the CPU. No.
Let me see that. Thank you. Now get out of here.
No, they gave me a new one off the shelf, and I walked out the door. So that's the kind of service you need to retain customers. And you need to be able to admit fault if you're a company selling open box stuff, because chances are, if there's a problem with an open box item, it was probably there when it shipped out.
Yeah.
You know, it was returned at one point. Maybe it was returned for a problem, and then, you know, whatever return guy saw it, couldn't figure out what the problem was, and said, oh yeah, it's probably fine. Send it out, and if it comes back, then I guess it is broken. You know, they aren't that careful, so they need to just say, especially with open box, I think they just need to side with the customer if they say there's something wrong with it. I mean, in this case with Gamers Nexus, he literally didn't open the box. He made that point abundantly clear, and the reps didn't really seem to acknowledge it. So it seems like the policy is to blame the customer and not really trust them.
I mean, I can understand there's a lot of scams and stuff, and honestly, guys, I mean, I've lost so much money to stuff like this too, right? Honestly, unfortunately, hate to say this, but there's a cost of doing business. You can't deal with the scams and all that. You can't include that into your shrink, into your daily losses. You can't be in business. It's just the way the world works. There's no way financially practically to do it, because you make it too extreme, guess what? People will just not buy from you. Make it too loose, then guess what? All the scammers will come over and take your stuff. So there's no easy way. I wish we had a time machine where we could like go anywhere in the world and just watch the customer open it. Of course, that'd be an extreme invasion of privacy, but like, you know, there's just no easy way to do it. All right, so going to the chat real quick. John Z says, TekShinji, wow, so the little guy would have gotten taken out to the trash by Newegg. Jeez. Yeah, exactly. So, of course, Gamers Nexus complain. They go, oh, we're sorry. This is someone big. We actually better treat them right, because that's how we do business. Only when we get in trouble. Scary. Yeah. Armetta says, this is why I always record opening all packages. It's insane that the package was never open, but they blame GN. Yeah, so I just want to touch on that before we go on. Nowadays, even that's not enough. So when it's the buyer, it usually doesn't matter. Sorry. When it's the seller, it usually doesn't matter. So, for example, if I recorded myself opening this box, and I submitted that as like evidence, most like eBay and Amazon would just dismiss that evidence and not even consider it. Nowadays, opening a package, even if you like did an unedited 45-minute video of you getting it off the truck, opening the box, putting it in your computer, and not working, then going online, putting an RMA and putting it back in the box, and even if you did all that, in my experience, almost like 100%, actually, yeah, 100% of the time, they dismiss that you could have just done it before. You could have done it with a different package, right? Is that their excuse is they can't verify you're lying, and they can't verify you're telling the truth, so they're just going to stick with whatever it said. If that makes any sense. And this goes both ways. When I sell something to a customer on eBay, if they claim they received an empty box, guess what? That's the end of the story. There's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you can do as a seller. That's it. You gave them an empty box, and that is the historic truth. Golden Wolf, Red Llama Crypto, yes, TekShinji, he was going to share his hair care product list. Is that all you missed? No, I wasn't. That is highly classified information. If I were to share my hair care product list, I think this channel would be doomed. That we can't do that. That's the only thing keeping me afloat right now. Times are tough, man. 3090s are in short supply. That's why I'm selling them. Raheem says, room full of smart people. I feel out of place. Bye. No, you're not. You're here with the likes of me, so don't worry about it. I've lost my nerd card several times. Soul7, very good point. Amazon is going up in price. Yes, that was going to be a topic this week, but I decided not to talk about it. They're going up quite a bit, by the way. If you buy a Prime membership subscription as a gift to yourself. You could currently buy it at the current price and get another year of the same price. Little hack for you guys. I'm going to be doing that. Soul 7 from 99 years to 130 to 140 years. I'm not exactly sure what that was referring to. Let me know in the chat. Matt Electron says, don't look now, but there's a Freedom Yankee 1070 GPU dancing on the desk behind you. I'm gonna look. Oh, I think I know what he's talking about. Andrew, you want to keep reading the chat? I'm gonna go get some.
Yeah. So we are pretty much at the bottom. Yeah, Tains. Steve also mentioned that he got emails from his fans that this happens all the time. Just happens to be the first time it happened to him. Yeah, this isn't really a new thing. Steve, it just happened to happen to him recently, so he obviously made content on it. But this has been happening for years, particularly with Intel motherboards with LGA sockets. But, I highly doubt that their denial of returns is reserved for Intel motherboards. I've heard other companies doing the same, whether it's manufacturers denying RMAs due to bent pins, people that say there were no bent pins and they received the motherboard back, and it's like someone just smashed them all with a screwdriver. So, unfortunately, there is like active corruption in some companies. I'm not saying Newegg's one of them, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just touched on that when I came in, but yeah, so this has been happening to a lot of people, and just remember, the people that are messaging Gamers Nexus, that's only a small portion. If they're doing it to that, and it happened to Gamers Nexus, imagine the scope of this nonsense that's happening. So, quick note on that. Andrew, do you actually think when they get a returned motherboard, they go over to the test bench, put a CPU in it, RAM, install operating system, and turn it on and make sure it works, and even do some overclocking?
Yes.
You think they do all?
I think they post-test stuff just to be able to resell it. So honestly, I think there's a good chance in this case that it had bent pins already, but minorly so. And the first time it came back, they just didn't want to go through any hassle, so they were like, "Oh, they're minorly bent. We'll sell it as open box anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to notice."
Mm-hmm. But
then they get it back again, and it's a different return guy who takes the package and says, "Oh, well, these are slightly bent. I'm denying the return."
Or he got slipped a 50 from his boss saying, "Say that they're bent."
Yeah, or smash him right now. Oh,
yeah.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Soul 7. Okay, so that you were talking about the cost of the Amazon Prime subscription. Yes. So Matt Electron was saying that don't look behind me, there's a 1070 or something. So that's because I am now the proud owner of the OK 3050. This is a gigabyte model, and I know we're at the end of the stream, so I'm not going to make this real short. I'm just going to do a quick unboxing, guys. For those that don't know, me and Matt Electron do some dealings every now and then. He sends me a few packages filled with product. I usually check for the purity and consistency, then I pass it on to our other friends at other YouTube channels. In this case, he did send me one pure EVGA Gigabyte Eagle card, and I did check the consistency. It's very pure. There doesn't seem to be cut with anything else. The anti-static is very clean, right?
Before you continue.
Yes. I
just want to give a shout out to 56 for donating $5 worth of ramen right now. I appreciate it very much, man.
Oh, hey, 56. Thank you so much for the donation. He just donated $5, and there's actually 5 ramen bowls in that emoji when he donated. Thank you so much, 56. You've always been an awesome guy. And I haven't watched all your anime yet, so I feel really bad now. He sent me a hard drive, like an old hard drive, like it's not here, but old spinner laptop hard drive filled with RAM, or filled with anime, allegedly filled with anime. Sorry. So this is the Gigabyte Evil, ramen. Gigabyte, yeah, he used ramen as like packing material. So this is the Gigabyte Eagle, and this is the 3050. It's a tiny little card. It does have a plastic backplate, but I'm not too concerned about it. And because it's such a low wattage card. But yeah, this is going to be our new potato card for the quote-unquote budget / like entry-level PC build that we're going to use as a basis for all of our testing.
Oh,
this is
sweet.
gonna
I've been meaning to try out those new ray trace games that are all the rage.
Yeah. This is a RTX 3050, so I mean, we'll see how well this thing does. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
I would imagine that they're borrowing that cooler from another card, maybe. Does their 3060 Eagle look like that? Or maybe the AMD cards look like that?
I have no idea. Like, the only reason why I went for this one was that, one, the price was pretty decent, and two, that since it's a 3050, I'm not too concerned about the fact that it's, not really, let's just say, gigabyte should be called megabyte because they kind of suck these days, but
I don't know, man. I don't think they're that bad. But
well, for the
I am
price.
glad that they have an MSRP card.
Yes, this only cost me, excluding shipping and taxes, $249.
Okay, yeah. So you have certain companies that just don't make MSRP cards, but are not any better quality, and then you have companies that make, arguably less quality cards, but at least they're still affordable. So, yeah, I think you kind of get what you pay for, but in this case, I don't think Gigabyte's gonna screw up anything on a cheap card.
Yeah, I mean, a cheap card like that with such a low TDP, that cooler is more than adequate. I mean, you could probably put an Intel CPU cooler on it. It'd probably be okay for most things too. All right, looking at the chat, I think we'll go into the closing portion of the stream, Andrew. Big Wooly, yes. I lost my nerd card. I did. By the way, guys, if you aren't in our Discord yet, please get joined. It is linked in the description below. Join process is a little bit confusing, so there is a bit of a procedure to do it. It's not too hard, though. Don't worry about that. What I would recommend is that you get joined soon and chat, because there's going to be some things we're going to be implementing over the next couple of months, and it's advantageous to you and nearly everyone else if you get joined early and you become active early, because if you don't, you might miss out on some stuff.
Like what?
Stuff like are we talking about it publicly? No. Okay, I didn't think so. Some stuff that's coming up, that's I'll just say that we're gonna do some things on stream that are different, that are only accessible to those that are active in our Discord. We're also gonna have some other options in our Discord, like upgrades and things that are only available, like for our channel, that are only available if you are in our Discord and active. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing that are rolling out as our Discord grows and we get more people in it. So if you're not in there yet, make sure you join it. I did link a video in chat that shows you how to get in with exact instructions. Give that to people that want to join if they can't figure it out. Magic Lucky, hey, how you doing, man? I didn't see you there. 56 as well. I'm really glad the kid got an RX 6600 when you donated it and not a 3050. TekShinji. Granted, any donation is awesome, but still. Yeah, so at the time he got that 6600, that was like a $600 card. Like, you couldn't get it for less than $600 on eBay. And we were fortunate enough to get one at close to MSRP. It wasn't MSRP. And so if you guys don't know, Andrew, while I'm saying the story real quick, you want to just link that video in chat. So if you guys don't know, during every year for our company, our channel, we like to help someone out that's either been good or, do something. It's been difficult for the last 2 years because of, human malware and stuff. But essentially, we try to do something nice for someone that's gone above and beyond. In this case, it was difficult to find anyone. So this guy, he said some positive things in some YouTube comments amongst the sea of nonsense and the sea of just anger and negativity. And I was like, you know what? This guy doesn't know it, but he's getting a graphics card. And then I contacted him. We set something up and we mailed him a box. We didn't tell him what we were sending him, right? We just said we wanted to mail you something. And, if you like, you can open it on camera. just to be clear, guys, opening it on camera was not a contingent, right? We just asked if he could, right? We sent it to him and he opened it on camera. And if you guys saw that video, it should be linked in chat. Mastermind Crypto just posted it. So that's what they're referring to. Yeah, so he got a 6600. He's real happy and he's been using it. And we still talk every other day. It's been like a couple of weeks though. All right. So I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions for us? Anything with what's going on? Anything you want to see on a stream? Best place to post that actually is on our Discord. We have a content suggestions channel in the Discord where you can post stuff there too. And we put that into our list of things we want to do. Mastermind Crypto, smile, brother. It's contagious.
Hey, you got me. You got me.
He got you. That's funny. You know how hard it is for me to find a thumbnail? Because you don't ever smile, mister. You always have that, oh my god, when is Shinji going to stop talking look on your face.
Hey, man, that gets clicks.
That gets
Use
clicks. Use the, flat face.
Whoa.
All right. Okay, guys, this stream's been going on long. It's been great. It's been fun. Remember, this stream happens every week. Same bad time, same bad channel. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TekShinji channel. And this has been the Tek Torrent Podcast. We will be seeing you in the next week podcast. And, of course, make sure you get subscribed because we will be having a special video coming out soon that we've been working really hard on. That's coming out soon, guys, and you're not going to want to miss it because we really tried to look at it. A lot of people, when they get a product to review, they look at the product. Instead, we looked at the whole company, right? And the service part, the product itself, and our experiences with them and with other content creators. So you're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be coming out real soon. We think it might be coming out within the next 2 weeks. So make sure you get subscribed, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Andrew, did you have anything else before we sign off?
We just got a few new people in chat. Just say goodbye to them while you say hi to them.
Yeah. Let's see. Artemis, Magic Lucky's here. Big Woolly's here. Oh, Cedric's here. How you doing, Cedric? Sorry, this is the end of the stream. You can always catch the rerun or the short clips that come out throughout the week. D Miners here. How you doing, man? Thanks for coming by. And Raheem, thank you for coming by. I know I've seen you around a couple of times. He says, I made the effort to look. It took the stream with this clarity. Yeah. There was a lot of back end work, like days of work to get it this good. This wasn't easy. Like, my computer is pulling 500 watts processing all this data right now. All right, guys. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great time. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.